Welcome back to another episode of the Pilots of the Caribbean podcast, where we talk about everything drones and the people in the Caribbean that use them. Now, for this week's episode, if you live in the Caribbean region and you've seen any form of local TV, regardless of what island you're from, I guarantee you have seen this person's work. Please enjoy this week's episode with Mr. Phil Archer. The man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Phil Archer. Thank you for coming on to the Pilots of the Caribbean podcast. So how are you going today?
Hey, Alan. How you doing? Fine, thanks. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem, man. Thank you very much for coming on.
Of course.
Now, Phil, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for the persons that aren't in the audience that aren't familiar with you?
Sure. My name is Phil Archer. I am a producer, fixer, and a professional drone operator. So I'm born in Barbados, and I'm actually half Trini. My mom is Trini, and yeah. I got quite most of my family's in Trinidad actually, and I've worked around the Caribbean, filming with a drone, and also producing for television and commercials and that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, so I know that for persons that may not be familiar with you directly, chances are they've seen something that you've done or you've been a part of. And how is it that you found yourself in that media space?
Well, I actually started off quite young as a musician. My whole family is musically inclined. You might remember Spice and Company. Alan Shepard is my uncle. And my mum is a singer. My grandmother was a professional piano player till well into her 80s. And so I grew up in a musical, family. Every party was a concert kind of thing. And that's how I started in media. I started as a professional singer in duos and bands from my teenage years into my 20s. And I got interested in the technical side of things. So I started looking for schools for sound engineering for live sound. And when I started school, I fell in love with the studio space. Like big SSL 9000 and Neve desks. And, back then, I'm dating myself here. Back then they were still using tape machines. And digital was only now coming in. I think, Pro Tools was in its infancy back then. Right. That was like the late 90s. And I studied recording engineering in Florida. And came back and started working at a recording studio in Barbados for 3 years, and then started my own studio called Crucial Productions. And at that point, it was just, literally a traditional recording studio, where I recorded people like Rupee, Alison Hines, Crossfire, local artists, a Trini band called Treason. I don't know if you remember them.
Mm-hmm. Tree Sons now. Well, they were Tree Sons and then they went their separate ways.
Yeah. Correct. So we recorded, I think, their last album. And then, I started to realize that the music industry was a bit too seasonal for my liking. Everything was only around crop over. So I started breaking into advertising, where the first studio I worked in was actually an advertising production studio. So I started doing that more. And I got the opportunity to work on sound design for animated shorts and commercials and that sort of thing. And following that, I got the opportunity to produce some animation, which then led me into the visual realm. And I absolutely fell in love with it. So, I get bored easy, and I'm always sort of looking to learn the next sort of trade or next sort of direction in my career, and really fell in love with the filmmaking process. And, I really loved sound design when I was an engineer. That was probably a field I was going to go in if I had kept on that audio path, Foley design and that sort of thing. And adding the imagery layer really sort of closed the circle for me, coming up with a concept and bringing it to fruition on the screen with audio design and sound design was really something that fulfilled me in a big way. And really fell in love with the filmmaking process. And, I really loved sound design when I was an engineer. That was probably a field I was gonna go in if I had kept on that audio path, Foley design and that sort of thing. And adding the imagery layer really sort of closed the circle for me, you know, coming up with a concept and bringing it to fruition on the screen with audio design and sound design was really something that fulfilled me in a big way. So that's how I got into the media space in terms of, television and film and that sort of thing. And,
I'm not sure if you're aware, but you are a big deal in the media space in Trinidad.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, that's good to know.
You are.
That's very cool. Glad to hear it. Yeah.
Yeah. When people hear, Phil, we talking to Phil London, and it's like, oh yeah. Okay, cool.
Wow. Well, I didn't know that, but, that's good to hear. Cool.
Yeah, man.